But there's one call that we had, and you ended the call and you said, thank you for attempting to build your dream life. And that has stuck with me so profoundly, because it's crazy to think about. Thank you for attempting to build your dream life. Thank you for all the time that you put into this. Thank you for all the risk, because we don't have to do this.
Predominantly today, where people find out about Ecclesia is on your website and on your Instagram and your YouTube. That would be the vast majority. And I think those numbers are only going to skyrocket. What we'll probably see with Gen Z and Gen Alpha, you could throw in TikTok too. People will find church community more online first through these mediums and building trust through really great content that's worthy of the greatest story ever told. And then they will become someone who might come to that church and then potentially give to that church and be a part of a life-giving community. We need to leverage these tools to get the gospel out. Just like we've been leveraging microphones and stages and LED walls and buildings, and Jesus used water to amplify his voice. Went out in a boat. So I think we got to use whatever means we can, and our goal is to help do that. And dude, we've heard this old thing, people have talked about this for decades, bro. Just do what's in your hands, do what's in your hands. It's super easy to say when you're not risking everything every day. Bro, for all of 2024, I did not know how I'd get past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I live my life in 2-week increments of, can I pay everyone, and can I pay myself, and can I pay all my bills? And I would say 95% of my waking thoughts were, you can't do it, you're not enough. And my only singular option was either, all right, brain, you're right, I'm not enough, I'm gonna quit, or I'm not enough, so I have to go to the source that is. And so I can say boldly, the only reason I have not quit Divine Persuasion Studio is because Jesus has shown me he's enough, and he's refined me in the process. And all the worry about money and team and future and family and time has gone away, because he just keeps taking more inventory. And as he's done so, he's also forced me to just live day by day.
Guys, we had some content go last time from our last episode.
Bro, and all the stuff that you posted was so sick.
We have one of them's at 85K on TikTok.
You look so cool in all the cuts, and it looks so legit.
Why do you think I posted them? Bro, what filter do you put on my face?
Literally nothing.
Because, whoa, my skin.
The camera, like a LUT,
I was like, damn, do I have perfect skin? Who knew? Maybe black don't crack.
Oh my gosh, you're the best. Bro, thank you for coming.
Of course.
You're officially an Angelino.
Angelino? What is that?
Someone who lives in Los Angeles.
Oh, Angelino. I am. 4 days
How many?
in.
4 days?
Mm-hmm.
Where? I know it's temporary for now before you find something more permanent, but what neighborhood?
Los Feliz.
I feel like...
What if I was like Skid Row? We're starting out just Main Street, Main and 3rd. Yeah.
Started from the bottom.
Be a great brand story.
It would be. Should I wear my hat like this for the pod? So yeah, Corb, like.
Hey, what's up, man?
But you're from Los Angeles now. So
I am.
now when people ask you where you're from, how will you respond?
That's actually such a good question. I'll probably say Seattle.
Until.
I tried, when we moved to New York, I tried to be a New Yorker. And they'd just be like, no, you're not. It's like, okay.
Like, what would happen?
I was like, oh, yeah, I'm from New York. They'd be like, where? Just the skepticism, just because I'm smiling and my voice is high. Like, you're too soft to be a New Yorker. Oh, dang, bro. My nails just came off, but I could have had
You did
nails.
have really cool nails. Were they fake?
No,
Like the ones
they
that
were
go on
real. I
top?
paid $90 for them.
90?
I got tricked, yeah.
But like they went on top? And they
No,
peeled
they
off?
were gel. Like
And they rubbed off, or they grew out?
they start to peel after a while. My family was really just not my like sweet black Southern family.
They were
When I
mad?
FaceTime, they were just like a little judgmental.
He really does live in LA.
He does. My mom's just crying.
I got chrome on my toenails, and it was there for 8 months. Chrome nail. There for 8 months. It grew all the way out to French, bro. Like, it was crazy. It was
Dang.
a joke, and it did not.
Wait, what did your mom say when she saw your nails on FaceTime? I love when you do your mom's voice.
Well, she was just like, what did she say? She said, oh, and I see them nails. I ain't gonna say nothing though, but I just know I do see them nails. I was like, That's saying something, though. And I know what you're saying. But whatever. They're just not as progressive as me.
My goodness. How long did it take you to drive down?
2.5 hours.
Dude, welcome to Southern California.
Thank you.
You take the 5?
All city streets, actually. Just no
the
highway.
man drove through Riverside.
In my 2004 Toyota 4Runner.
Let's go.
I do have a nail in my back tire that I discovered. So that sucks. Okay, are we starting?
Yeah, we're in this.
Oh shoot, can I do an intro?
You can do. Okay, so this is already live. Depending on however Matt decides to cut this, Corbin decided that he's now in charge of this episode. So we'll see what God does.
So, welcome to another episode of Divine Persuasion Radio. My name is Corbin, the CEO and founder of Jonah the Brand, your creative director's favorite clothing brand. But today, I am the host and owner, CEO of Divine Persuasion Studio and Radio, which does mean Divine Persuasion Radio and Studio is black owned for the next 45 minutes. So if you don't book a demo, I think you're racist. So you got 45 minutes to book a demo, or I'll leave that there. But today,
Oh my God.
I am interviewing my best friend in the world, Wendell McKinney, the actual CEO, founder of Divine Persuasion Studio and Radio. And this was all my idea. I asked you to do this because I think that what you've built is so phenomenal and so beautiful, and it's so easy to just pin you as the face of the machine, but we don't get to hear the story and understand the story behind the machine. And just as someone who's had a front row view for multiple years now, I'm so impressed and so proud of you as your best friend. And I can't wait for more people to hear your story and hear about this beautiful thing that you've built. And I'm just so proud. And so this podcast, I'm asking all the hard-hitting questions. We're diving deep into the story. So, Wendell McKinney, everybody.
Bro, you're so kind. Thank you for the kind words. I love being your friend. And as we jump in, if you have not heard about Corbin yet, go buy Jonah the Brand. Anything from the brand, including the mohair beanie that he has on. It would be
just
a great
restocked,
decision.
baby.
Yeah, boy.
4th restock, in BD, baby.
4th restock.
So, I want to go chronologically through everything. Your life, your story, and we're going to talk about you, and we're going to clip this thing up into 75 different reels, and you better engage with every single one of them because you got a great story. And so let's start. We're in San Diego, your hometown, the
Yes,
birthplace of Wendell McKinney.
I was actually technically born in Portland, Oregon, but San Diego's the hometown.
When did you move here?
My parents met in Portland in Bible college. My dad is from Florida, the Panhandle, Pensacola. Just like
My closest friend in the world. I didn't know any of this stuff.
is the
So,
best. Yeah,
here
my
we
dad
go.
actually went to Southeastern College back before it was SEU, which is like a big Christian school. And he moved to Portland to be a part of a church at the time called Bible Temple, then City Bible. Now I think it's called Manna House, which is interesting. And my mom moved from Southern California, and my aunt and uncle, so Judah's mom and dad, were pastors at the church, youth pastors. And my mom got there, my dad got there. Long story short, they had all of their babies in Portland, and then we moved to Seattle in 92. My dad was basically the executive pastor of City Church in Seattle for
What year were you born?
91.
Okay.
So I was like 1.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, Portland would be my hometown on, birth certificate, but that's really the only place I would even bring it up. But I think it's a cool town. Yeah, I don't know why I used that phrase. But yeah, I don't have memories of living there. Then we lived in Seattle. When I was 6, we moved to San Diego.
Okay.
And I remember being somewhat devastated and somewhat excited, leaving a lot of friends and family. But San Diego being my hometown, I went to first grade in San Diego all the way through college. And then, as you know, got married, had my first kid, went into ministry, bought my first place. And then we moved from San Diego to Seattle in 2017. And then in 2018,
wait, that's
you and I
skipping
became
so
homies.
much. So, San Diego, let's start at ministry, your ministry life. What age did you start in ministry?
Well, out of high school, I became the, what is it called? Receptionist. We don't really have those anymore. There was an opening to be a receptionist at the church that my parents were pastoring, and no one had really applied for it. And they basically, at the time, we still needed people to answer phones. And I'm like, dude, I love talking to people. I'm already at the church all the time. I might as well apply. And they're like, oh, of course. And so I was a receptionist for about 2 months. And then I was going to community college, and I joined the internship Bible college program. And then 2 months into that, or maybe a month in, they needed a junior high director. And the youth pastor was like my small group leader and mentor at the time. And him and a few others were like, dude, let's just ask Wendell to be the junior high director. And I was absolutely yes. So I could get paid for my practicum hours, the time when you're supposed to be doing the work of the ministry as a intern or Bible college student, get practical hands-on stuff. And it just worked really well. I loved teaching and communicating, and we had a junior high class on Sunday mornings, and would kind of fill a section at youth on Thursday nights. And I did that at age 19. And then I think it's hard to remember exactly, but when I was 20, I was asked to be the youth pastor, or the assistant youth pastor. Got really excited, said yes to that, because I'm like, oh, I just get to assist Marco and Natalie, who are heroes to me and have been so incredible to me. And so that was fun. Started doing more preaching as a part of the youth ministry. And then I think I was still 20. It's hard to remember. I was either 20 or 21. They asked me to be the youth pastor. The irony about this is, like, my whole life I had dreamed of being either doing something in sports or in ministry, to be a youth pastor, growing up watching.
What in sports specifically?
Just like so many young dudes who grew up playing football or basketball, to play in the league, which was not in the cards. I was a good athlete, but not at that level, obviously. And I also
running
love
back.
Running back, y'all.
You have high school records still intact.
Maybe. I mean, I
feel
played,
like that was an alley-oop.
Well, I played really well in high school, but we had a tiny little school, and I don't know what
matter.
their record books are.
They don't
like,
have to know that.
You
have records.
I do. Yeah, I was a really good high school football player. I was, and I really enjoyed it. And I had plans to pursue a college career. And the junior college I went to while I was doing Bible college actually was a top junior college for football. And I had a bunch of friends that went to like San Diego State, USD, a couple that went to some bigger schools. And I thought, playing against them my whole life, I'm just as good as them or whatever. But when I was in my senior year of high school, I was in the middle of playing soccer and basketball at my school. And I felt like I needed to hear from God about what was next. I was unsure if I wanted to try to walk on somewhere. I had already enrolled in community college and in Bible college, and I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I did a 7-day fast. Did you ever hear about the, what's it called? The Master Cleanse? Did you ever hear about that one? It's like maple syrup, lemon, and cayenne pepper.
What? No.
Connor, you ever heard of that one? Oh, he gone.
Just like in water or just?
Yeah, with water.
Just dry?
Yeah, it's terrible. But it's supposed to like cleanse your liver and everything. So I did that, and I got what was, for me, the closest thing to the audible voice of God. I remember sitting in my room. I had just turned 18. It's my senior year in the spring. Soccer and basketball are coming to an end. I'm about to go into my first track practice in a couple of weeks. And I remember sitting in my room. It's day 7, and I'm just basically asking Jesus, I'm like, what do you want me to do with my life? I want to make the right decision. I want your will. I don't want to just come up with whatever sounds good to me or whatever I might pursue because I think I have this gift or I have this idea. And I remember, bro, so my bedroom, the door would be behind me, and my bed is kind of in the middle of the room, and then there's 2 windows here that overlook our front door. And I was sitting on the ground looking at my wall and the window with my back at my bed as my backrest, and I had my eyes closed, and all of a sudden there was this kind of delightful weight in the room. It's the best way I could describe it, almost like a weighted blanket, but the whole room felt dense.
Yeah.
And everything went almost dead silent. And I felt what was for me the closest thing I've ever experienced to the audible voice of God. I would say it was almost like a sentence was impressed on my chest. I just heard God, I really do. I'm convinced it was God. He said, "Don't you know that I've called you and ordained you?" And I just
18
wept.
years old.
I wept. And I don't know, I might have been in my room for 5 hours after that. I was just gone. I think I had basketball or soccer practice to get to, and I got out of school early because I was a senior, so I was at home. It was probably noon, and I didn't have basketball until whatever time it was. And so in that moment, I felt 100% certain that I was supposed to be a pastor. And I had kind of felt that my whole life growing up, being in evangelical church, my parents being a pastor, my aunts and uncles and friends, and going to youth conferences and camps and events, and always weepy in church. And I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. So by the time I was asked to be a youth pastor, I was 20-ish. And although I was really excited, I also felt this intensity that I was too young. Like, this is a lot of responsibility. I always thought I just had a crazy thought. I think most of the struggle I've had in my life, and I just realized this, I was talking with a pastor in Scottsdale 2 days ago, and we're talking about some of the frustrations that I have. And we basically boiled it down together that the reason I'm frustrated is because things don't look the way I thought they would. Which is crazy, because when they asked me to be the youth pastor, I'm like, this is not what I thought. I thought when you asked me to be the youth pastor, I would have already graduated from college, maybe played a college sport, or at least had bought a house or be married. But I'm 21 years old. I still feel like in my head I'm kind of a high schooler. Why are you asking me to be the youth pastor? And so I wrestled with it. I called every pastor I knew, trying to get them to tell me not to do it.
Really?
And because of the way I was raised, most of the people I knew I felt like were pastors. So I was calling everybody. I'm like, I feel like this is too much. I don't know. And then kind of finally just felt like I was supposed to say yes. I felt a peace, and so I said yes. And then, I was 20. So then we had a youth conference the week after I said yes, bro. And I still can't believe this. The youth team, and I think they were well-to-do, but for whatever reason, they decided to put me on the face of the T-shirt. I was so embarrassed.
No, it's like the biggest ego boost of all time.
Oh my God. And
this conference, every kid has your face on their T-shirt?
Yes, and then they made pins. Remember when pins were all the rage?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like metal pins, and my face was on the pins. Oh my gosh. Wow. Bro. I hated that, but I remember that was really tough. But then, yeah.
See, I'm so vain. I'm like, why hasn't anyone asked me to do this?
They will.
Can you guys do
Jonah
some Corbin pins?
We should. It's a good idea.
My idea, put my face on pins. So you're 20 years old right now.
Right.
Youth conference. Have you accepted the role at this point, at this youth conference?
I had, literally, if I'm remembering correctly, I said yes to being the youth pastor, and the next month was the conference. It's crazy.
Wait, so was it your idea to put your face on
No.
that?
No.
Okay, so...
I mean, I was fine with it at the time, but then once the conference actually started, I was like, oh, God, this is kind of weird.
This is crazy.
It almost felt like going... having gone to pop star events where the pop star's on a T-shirt, but I'm like, dude, this is a youth pastor at a youth conference. I started to feel uncomfortable. And then I remember one of my buddies came with members of his church, and I heard them, they didn't know I was around the corner. They're like, dude, that's so weird that he would do that. Like, no one would ever do that. I was like, it wasn't my choice.
Does Amy still have this merch?
Oh, I highly doubt it. I think we incinerated. No, I'm kidding. It was so long ago now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, bro. I'm going to be 34 next week. That was 14 years ago.
14 years.
Wow.
Okay, so youth conference. What's it like? Let's move to the next season of being a youth pastor. What's that like?
It was exhilarating. It was the job that I probably wanted most in life. A lot of the guys I grew up admiring, like Judah, were youth pastors, and I just really cared about helping young people see Jesus for who he really was. And I think there was a lot of struggles in it. I definitely felt this unhealthy, I would say now, disdain for being a cool youth pastor that got to write books and speak at conferences, which is kind of a silly, holier than thou perspective that I had that I didn't realize. I thought it was I think I would have thought it was humble when really now looking back, it was more arrogant. It's like me being more moral that I'm not chasing those things. But besides that kind of frustration with the circuit of traveling Christianity, which is a very small sect of the world, I really enjoyed it. Played so much FIFA and Madden with young guys and went to so many high school sporting events, and we had an amazing time. I remember the next year, now having a year under my belt, I just didn't really think that a conference served young people the way that they should be served. I was like, I don't know that, 5 preaching messages is the best for this group, and I don't really see all these young people wanting to bring friends or hear from God. And so instead of doing one big conference with all the sessions, we decided to do seasonal big nights is what we call them.
Yeah,
so we do one in January and then one in February and one in March, sometimes spread it out a little bit more. And it basically be, we'd go to all the schools that we had campus clubs on and advertise them, give away pizza and Chick-fil-A and Xbox or whatever, try to get as many people as we could to come. And I love those. And I loved working with our leadership team. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Dang. Okay. So youth pastor, what's our timing?
Oh, we got time.
Okay, great.
It's 2:07 for what it's worth.
2:07.
2:07 on the radio, Pacific Standard Time.
Because there's so many parts of your life that we could stay on and linger on, but you have so much that I want to talk about. So you're a youth pastor. You moved to Seattle 2017 after being youth pastor for how long?
Basically 7 years, I would say. It's kind of give or take a couple months, but by the end of my time in vocational ministry, I was overseeing the youth and the kids and the creatives, and then I was on the executive team and was on the teaching team. Great. So it was pretty involved. And then my parents, who were the lead pastors and still are, they're incredible. They had asked my wife and I to do a 5-year transition plan to become lead pastors. And initially I'm like, dude, of course, I never have to leave San Diego. This is incredible. I feel called to this.
27 years old.
No, 26.
Start having these convos.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It was, I think it kind of felt like it made sense because I've always felt like, at least for me, I've always gotten leadership before I really wanted it. Not because I'm great. I think it's just the way my life. I remember being in high school and I became a small group leader of all my friends, and I was so mad at first at my youth pastor. And the same thing, becoming a youth pastor so young and then starting to preach on Sundays, what I thought was fairly young, and then being asked to be a lead pastor. So I was really excited. But then I kind of felt like through thought and prayer, kind of an Abraham moment, like, where God tells Abraham, he's like, Abraham, leave the land of your father and mother and go to the land I will show you. And I couldn't shake the idea that we were supposed to actually say no. And in talks with Judah and Chelsea, they offered for us to do a sabbatical in Seattle. And I'm such an adventurer too. As much as I really didn't want to leave San Diego, I knew that's what God had. So we talked to my parents. It was a difficult conversation, but they sent us with love. And so we moved to Seattle June 1st of 2017, and we did a 7-month sabbatical, attended all the staff and pastors meetings at Church Home, which was really cool, like being in that environment. I would have probably guessed that I would either apply for some staff position at the end of it or go back to San Diego and work at the church or maybe go work at another church. But when that was over, I felt like I was supposed to stay in Seattle and be a part of Church Home. And so I got the job at Pushpay and we became boys.
And this is where the story gets good.
So on day one, I come and sit down next to you, and we had already met a little bit.
Yeah.
But you didn't think I was a good dude.
I didn't
That's
like
my
you
favorite
at
part.
first. I didn't. I thought you were... The kids don't use this word anymore, but I thought you were so extra. I was like, there's no way this guy is genuine or real. You're so giddy and so joyful. And I was very annoyed. I was like, this is so fake. I hate this guy.
But bro, when I came and I sat down next to you, we had met probably 2 or 3 times where we knew each other's names just from church and similar friends. But I remember I was excited because I'm like, oh, I actually know this dude. How long did it take from me sitting down and being quote unquote extra before you realize that, oh, dude, we're boys?
I actually don't know.
Neither do I.
But I remember you sitting down next to me day one, and we do the pleasantries of good to see you again, welcome, whatever. And we get through, I'm on a couple calls, you're still training, doing your thing, starting to do some scouting. We're working in sales at this time, which is the exact opposite job for me. and my personality type.
I love when you talk about this. It gets me every time.
Whatever. We made it through. But you lean over to me and you go, bro, you want to get matching tracksuits? I've always wanted to get matching tracksuits with someone. I was like, this guy is not real. I
forgot about that.
And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Because I'm just like, bro, leave me alone. I'm not getting matching tracksuits with you. And I'm kind of already going through the motions and all the emotions. I'm already spiraling down. I'm like 2 months into
emo.
this job at this point, and you're like so happy, let's get matching tracksuits. I'm like, bro, I'm fighting for my life in this seat right now. But I don't know what happened. Maybe we...
When do you think is the first time we played 2K? Because obviously we talked about that before in the pod. We played once.
I know, but to invite you to my home on my sacred lunch break, I had to be bought in at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know. We just had a small team and maybe...
Well, my first month there, you did really, really well. And by the time...
Don't tell them about the second month.
by the time it was like because sales, there's always the shout outs and awards at the end. By the time the month was over, which would have only been because I started on January 23rd. Mm-hmm. And so you were already finishing that month.
I started
so it was like
in October.
No, but my first month, I'm saying.
Okay,
But
yeah.
I started on January 23rd. So February 2nd or 3rd or 4th, whatever it was, like that first Tuesday thing where they do a celebration. By that time, we were already homies because I remember I was like so stoked for you.
Yeah.
So it had to be pretty quick. It
had to be quick. You broke me down fast. And then we started playing 2K on my lunch breaks.
Yeah.
On our lunch breaks.
No, just yours.
Well, I would take my lunch break and then also take your lunch break. But we won't tell anyone that. So we're best friends at PushPay. And this is a fun part of the story because I don't think people understand how good you are at selling. And for me, that is such an impressive thing because that's a genuine skill set that I don't have. But because I don't have it and I've been in sales situations, understanding how impressive that is. And you also have records at PushPay. You were you have top SDR records still at PushPay because you did so well. I would sit next to you, and whenever I would listen to your calls, we were right next to each other, so I'd listen to your calls. And whenever you'd start off so happy, hey, Pastor, how you doing? And at the 15-second mark, you get into it, ask about them. And I knew whenever you got into this bag, whenever you're like, oh, you're a PK? And if I heard you say the word PK, I was like, oh, it's a done deal. He's cooking right now.
Oh,
if you get
man.
to if they're a PK, you're cooking, and you're gonna convert them. But you did extraordinarily well. You became a manager. How fast did you become a manager?
So I started in January, and then my first month was selling really. I actually closed deals while I was training, which was fun.
That made me so mad.
I actually kind of realized, I didn't realize until, I thought it was cool because I'm going to my manager, I'm like, dude, I'm ready to close these deals and I haven't even gotten the script. And he's like blown away. But I realized if I would have just waited on and closed those deals after, I would have been paid for them. I didn't get paid on any of them. I closed 6 deals during training and I didn't get paid on any of them.
I was so bad at you, fighting for my life in that seat. And you're just running back and forth from training, flipping a call. And I'm just like, this guy.
Oh my God.
Never getting matching tracksuits with him. Show off.
Never. But I started actually in my first month of selling Feb, and then February, I broke a record for most in the first month. And then March, I broke the record for most ever in the history of the company. And then April, I broke my own record for most ever in the history of the company. And I remember Nate Mace gave me the award, back-to-back record breaker, and I'd never seen him grin so big. It was like his military background. I felt so elated. And then that's when I interviewed to be a manager in the month of May. And so I was going through all the manager training and whatever, and then I think I became a manager in June.
Which is also crazy because that's not the path.
Yeah. I think they said...
No one had done it before you.
They said that the fastest in the history of the company, I think, was 15 months, and I did it in 4.
And in that 15 month, there's probably has to be multiple steps.
They
right?
told me I needed to be an SDR for 10 months and prove my worth. And then after being, because I told them I wanted to be a leader, a manager, I wanted to grow quick. And they said after 10 months, if you're at the top of your game, then you can move up to enterprise. Then after enterprise, you can either interview to become a manager or you can go over to be an account executive. And then after probably more the account executive. So it'd be like 3 different spans of being at the top for 10 months each in order to be a manager was the most likely scenario for someone on a fast track, is what they said.
And you said, nah.
I actually did.
You said,
I
bet.
I was sitting down with Jeremy Bonet. God bless that man. I love you, Jeremy. And he's actually the reason why I do thankfulness at the beginning of all my calls. Yeah, he told me that. My first day as manager, I was nervous. He's like, bro, don't be nervous. Just at the beginning of each day, sit down with each person that you lead. That you're not just a manager, you're a leader. Look at them in the eye, ask them how their night was last night, and ask them what they're thankful for today. And everything else would take care of itself. Changed my life.
That's crazy.
But I remember when I had my training meeting with him, I was like, so how do I break every record and how do I become the best? He's like, bro, I love you. It was the best.
My first meeting at Pushback was like, so like, how much time off do I have? How long can I be out for lunch?
Oh my God.
How few calls can I make today and it like be okay? But
Oh my goodness.
so you become manager. I just remember just being so proud of you. That was so crazy. You were like the guy, like genuinely. You wouldn't say this, but you were the guy at PushPay. I attached myself so strongly to you, and anywhere you went, like if you got up to go to the kitchen to get a drink, I was getting in the middle of a call, like, Pastor, I have to go. Wendell's leaving. Wherever you go, I go, because you had the aura at PushPay, because you're doing so well. But one thing that describes you so well is, of course, you have the sales gift, and that's impressive in and of itself. But the work ethic you had was unbelievable. Every single day, I started on the East Coast. We were in Seattle. I started in Baltimore, like Maryland area for what
was your area you were
my
selling
area.
to?
So I had to be there at 6:30 in the morning because the 3-hour time difference, 9:30 to start, whatever. You were there before me every single day, and I left before you every single day. And there was a point where you were also going in on Saturdays just to scout and prospect, and you somehow swindled me in to going there on Saturdays. We would go to Whole Foods and get a whole carton of
Smart Sweets and bacon.
Bacon, like the hot food, and we just get pounds of bacon.
Yeah.
And I would go there and pretend that I was scouting, but I was just scrolling Instagram. But I just wanted to hang and have the aura with you. And that work ethic is so impressive, and it's what is the word I'm looking for? Work ethic has morphed and moved into what you're doing now, and it wouldn't be possible to do what you do now without that work ethic. And it's so impressive what you do. And one thing that I think is so beautiful, kind of like going back to my intro, which I did practice, about us not being able to see everything that goes into this, and it just being a machine at this point, seemingly, is how much work and risk and time goes into building what is Divine Persuasion Radio, and the amount of risk that you have to take on yourself, and the amount of you have to leverage your whole life to build this thing. And there's one time we had a call, and we're both business owners now, and we call each other like once a week.
Yeah.
And legit, we just talk for like an hour and a half each time about every frustration we have. They're not happy.
No.
This is what's going on. This is so terrible. Can you pray for me? Can you do this? But there's one call that we had, and you ended the call and you said, thank you for attempting to build your dream life. And that like has stuck with me so profoundly, because it's crazy to think about. Thank you for attempting to build your dream life. Thank you for all the time that you put into this. Thank you for all the risk, because we don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. You broke every record at PushPay. You climbed the ranks. You'd probably be CEO by now if you would have stayed there. But you've attempted, and are attempting and building this beautiful, beautiful studio that is helping all these churches tell the story of Jesus better and reach more people in their cities. And that's so commendable, and I'm so proud as your best friend to watch you do this. And why do you do this? Why did you start building this? We skipped some parts in the story, but
first I just have to say thank you, and your words mean so much, and I have to just say thank you, Jesus, first and foremost. And I couldn't have done this without everything that he has done for me, and the work ethic that I get from my mom and dad. They work so hard to provide a life for me, and that was instilled in me. Like, you work hard. Like, whatever's in front of you, it doesn't matter. That you put your head down and you work hard, and that's the way I've been taught to approach life. And also just want to say thank you to our incredible team at DPS, man. Oh my goodness. For as tough as it can be to be the owner or founder, whatever you want to call it, the initiator, it's so true that you're only as good as your team, and our team is honestly incredible. And I think a huge reason why it looks like a well-oiled machine, although you and I both know, and anyone who's ever tried to own a business or start something knows, it's not quite that way internally. I just thank you to each and every one of our team members. We are so blessed to work together, and I get to be the individual at the forefront because that's my role, both as a leader internally for the organization and externally. But I get to do what I do because I have an incredible team. And thank you, Jesus. And thank you, Amy, and to my babies. But why did I start it, you were saying?
Yeah.
Man. Well,
why would you do this after?
Towards the end of my time at PushPay, same thing. Jeremy Bonet, if you are watching this, thank you, bro. I remember I had
Such a
done,
nice man.
Dude,
So
incredible,
kind.
incredible.
And he's
dude.
like 6'5".
Yeah, massive. A lot like us, you know. But yeah, from getting to know Elliot Crowther and then a little bit Chris Heaslip, like the two founders, felt super inspired. I kept on inviting myself to Elliot's house. And over, at the time, I think Elliot was like 30, 31. And I'm like, dude, you're not that much older than me. You only got like 5-6 years on me. How did you start this company? So I started to go to his house, and we would be drinking cappuccinos at like 10 p.m. in Kirkland, and I'm just peppering him with questions over and over. We talk about theology and business, and I just remember being in his living room, and he goes, in his Kiwi accent, he's like, Wendell, the future of business is subscription-based. Nice. And that just stuck with me. I was like, wait, yeah. He's like, he basically says, every great enduring business of the next few decades will be subscription-based. That will be their main source of revenue, or their main way that they serve their clients. And I was so intrigued, and my wheels started turning. And while I was at PushPay, when I became a manager, my boss was Matt Tressiter. Shout out Matty T, the best boss I've ever had. Man, that dude was incredible. Such a great leader. He was the VP of sales, and he was only 29, and he's leading like 180 people, whatever it was, in the sales department. From talking with Elliot, I had the idea, I'm like, okay, I really love the church space. I care about the gospel. And part of the reason why I was gifted at sales, I definitely have owned the fact that I think the gift that God gave me more than anything else is communication. I just know it. There's so many gifts I wish I had. I was talking to my brother, Jesse. You met Jess, right?
No.
Oh my God,
Bro,
we gotta do that.
My closest friend in the world, I've never met any of your brothers or your parents.
Wow, this is a travesty. Anyway, I was talking with Jesse about this, and I was like, bro, I wish I would have spent more time on guitar or spent more time doing this. He's like, no, you don't. I was like, yes, I do. He's like, no, because if you really wanted to, you would have done it.
Wow.
I was like, whew. Which is crazy because I've had so many dreams, but to your earlier point, and I am really good at selling things, but it's just the gift God gave me. Like, bro, I could never do a brand the way you do a brand. It's not possible. Like, you literally made a brand off of a sticker, off of a hat that started in New York that went to Seattle that's now in LA, and it's been seamless, and more people like it. Every time I wear Jonah.
Seamless is such a kind word of you
It
to
is.
say.
Well, the same thing you're saying, that our thing is a well-oiled machine. Inside, just like any organization, a lot of the time it's a cuss word show. You know what I mean? It's like super clean. My kids are listening. Anyway, a whole nother thing. But I say that because I feel like God has graced me as a communicator, and I just want to leverage my gifts for what's ever in front of me. And when I was at PushPay, I had this insatiable desire to be the absolute best I could be. And the only comparative analysis I had was, you say to make 60 dials, I'm going to make 120. You say to get 30 sales, I'm going to try to get 60. You say I need to be here 5 days a week, I'm going to be here 6. You say I need to start calling at 7, I'm going to get in at 5 a.m. to prospect and start calling at 6 a.m. all the cell phones because they might answer. Then I'll move to the normal phones and then I'll hit you. So that's just the way that God has wired me. And I think PushPay really allowed me to see that I had a skill set that wasn't only something to be used in a church-centric platform setting, but could also be used in different ways, and I'm really thankful for it. And I had the idea for DPS while working there, from Elliot saying that and realizing there's no one really crushing creative, and there was no PushPay for art in the church. I'm like, somebody's got to do it. So I went to Matt Tressiter, and I was like, Matt, dude, I have this idea. I think it'd be great. I want to pitch it. He's like, bro, if you want to do that, mate, go do it yourself.
You gotta crush this accent.
Dude, I'm trying. So I thought about it, and he basically is saying, hey, if you want to do that, go build it. Like, you don't need to do that with PushPay, because even if it's successful, that doesn't do anything for you. It just helps the company, but you can go do it yourself someday. So I was like, oh, whatever, probably never do it. And then I was meeting with Jeremy Bonet. This would have been July of 2018, and I already didn't like being a manager, because I thought being a manager was going to be me leading a team more, but it was more just being in a bunch of meetings I hated. It's like, this is so lame. Like, let's care about these people and help train them, but it's just like, make numbers, whatever.
Yeah.
Which didn't come from Matt, which is a whole nother thing. But I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to climb the ladder there, and I just felt disenfranchised, a lot like you did. Remember, I called you were living in New York. I'm like, bro, I feel exactly how you felt. I'm sorry. I tried to tell you to get over
welcome
it.
to the team, brother.
And I think we talked about this before, I think even on the pod. For guys like us, I feel like we are built to create and to make things, and we can kind of be a chameleon in certain settings, but eventually I think we would be ruined to not go build. We're builders, not just kind of guys to go fill in where somebody else can't. And so I was sitting with Jeremy. I was like, dude, I feel like I have to do something more. I have to do something bigger. And he's like, dude, God's going to open it. Just pray and believe. And so I did. And then I got a job opportunity from a friend, and I quit PushPay and moved to Los Angeles in December. And then I did that job with him for a year. And then a year later, you know the story, but I just remember the job that he gave me was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be my future. This is everything. And when that came to an end, again, crazily enough, it was also January 23rd. So just 1 year to the date from when I started at PushPay and sat down next to you, and you thought I was crazy.
The matching tracksuits.
It's so good. So January 23rd of 2020, that job ended, and I'm like, okay, I really do feel like this is a clean sheet, and I'm really excited for what's next. But I don't want to just go get another job. I want to do what I'm supposed to do. I want to fulfill purpose. I want to feel like that same thing I felt when I was 18 in my room and I fasted, and God said, don't you know I've called you and ordained you? I'm like, I got to go do something to touch the world. I think it has to do with Jesus. I don't know, whatever. And so I had become a little bit more contemplative in my faith, like reading Thomas Merton and Teresa of Avila and trying to get into like the Greek interpretation of scripture. And so I did 7 days of silent, like Jesus meditation. I drove my Mini Cooper to Los Angeles Valley College, a couple minutes away from my house, and parked underneath my favorite shady oak tree. And I just sat in my car for 7 hours with no phone, no notebook, nothing, just me and Jesus talking in my mind for 7 days.
That is so wild.
And I remember my wife is like, should we figure something out? I'm like, hey, just give me and God 7 days. I want to know whatever is next, because I feel like I've had some success, but I want to know I'm in line with Jesus. I want him to take over. I want him to take the wheel. Carrie Underwood. And so at the end of that, I took the train ride, which was my favorite thing, the coaster. We got to do it, bro. It's so fun. I took it from Burbank up to Santa Barbara and got off at the pier and went, and I wrote in my notebook. And for whatever reason, I just knew for a fact I was supposed to start the studio. I couldn't shake it. And so I had a little bit of money, had like 25 grand, was blessed enough to have saved that from work and life and whatever, breaking records, and recruited a few friends, and then a few more friends, and some left and some stayed and some came back, and artists and whatever, and just kind of piecemealed it together. And it's actually insane to me, bro. Next week, so today's the 6th of March, next Tuesday will officially be 5 years. So whoever might be listening to this will be later, but yeah, Tuesday, March 11th will be 5 years as a studio, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's been a wild journey, bro.
A wild journey.
It's been the most beautiful and heart-wrenching experience in my life, which you know about. Like, dude, starting a business and figuring it out is crazy.
What would you say to people who want to start anything?
I forgot. This might have even come up on the radio, but I think Simon Sinek says it best: start with why. I think that is the greatest. They say that the great enduring companies, I've devoured every business book I could possibly get my hand on in the early onset. But I think it's actually, is it Jim Collins that writes Good to Great? I can't remember. But there's a bunch of different people that say it in different ways. But basically, what will get you through the inevitable, terrible moments. Another one, I think is it Joe Horowitz writes The Hard Thing About Hard Things. Like all these guys that have wrote incredible books, they basically say the mission behind why is the only way that you recruit high-end talent and keep them, and the only thing to keep you in the seat when you're in the worst situation in your life and you have no idea how you'll get out.
What has that... What I know, so asked why would you start, but like what has kept you from quitting?
Oh man. I think a lot of things. I think for me being a husband and a father, I don't want to be a quitter. I don't want that to be part of my life. I think that's a huge motivation. I think I'm kind of ruined for any other option because I've invested so much, like I'm in too deep. But I think more than anything, it's Jesus. I used to think it would be kind of me seeking out Jesus, and Jesus really wants me to do divine persuasion because it's going to help so many people see the gospel. And I think there's a beauty to that. But I think, as Judah would say, more than anything, those kinds of goals that I might have are just cute to God. Like he views me the way I view my 5-year-old son Sunday. And Sunday just says the cutest things right now, like asking questions. And that's the way God views my goals. And I think in the early onset, I really thought that I wouldn't have said it this way. I think if I said it out loud, I would have caught myself and be like, oh, I'm an idiot. But I definitely thought, now looking back, God needed me to start Divine Persuasion. And there's this like intangible anointing that I have that's going to change the world, and not even from a narcissistic perspective, but more from, if I don't have this like secret sauce that God ordained me to start this business, I could help a lot of people, then I shouldn't do it. But now that I look back, I have realized that Jesus just chooses to be with me and to partner with me in the journey, and any achievement that comes is awesome. So grateful for, numbers we've crossed and people we've hired and things we've done and companies or brands or churches, mainly churches we've partnered with. But what I've realized and what has kept me from quitting is I'm in this with Jesus. He has me right where he wants me. And as much as every time I have been tempted to run, what has brought me back to the reality of I will not run, and I'm going to stick this through, is that all the pain and the moments of like weeping in my office, losing 50 grand in a month and losing clients and letting go of friends and moving on and trying to figure it out and trying to be a good man and be a good husband and be a good leader and be a good friend and be a good son and be a good brother and do things for other people and do things for myself. And what I end up coming to every single time is I am simply not enough. I don't have what it takes to be a really great businessman. I don't have what it takes to be a really great husband or father. Even for me, like, bro, I was raised so straight edge. Like, dude, I live that moral code. Like when you read Paul, when he talks about, I'm not going to boast about anything, but if I were to boast, he goes on this soliloquy of, the Pharisee of Pharisees. I was not at that level, but bro, like I didn't do bad stuff. I just didn't. And then as I got older, I started to see all my fallacies. Like being a good person doesn't get you there. Closing the deal doesn't get you there. Achieving doesn't get you there. And so the reason I have not quit is because this is where Jesus has me. And I'm not in this to achieve a certain end. I'm in this because this is just simply where I'm supposed to be, because I know that's where he has me. And dude, we've heard this old thing. Like people have talked about this for decades, bro. Like just do what's in your hands, do what's in your hands. It's super easy to say when you're not risking everything every day. Bro, for all of 2024, I did not know how I'd get past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I live my life in 2-week increments of can I pay everyone and can I pay myself and can I pay all my bills? And I would say 95% of my waking thoughts were, you can't do it. You're not enough. And my only singular option was either, all right, brain, you're right. I'm not enough. I'm going to quit. Or I'm not enough, so I have to go to the source that is. And so I can say boldly, the only reason I have not quit Divine Persuasion Studio is because Jesus has shown me he's enough and he's refined me in the process. And all the worry about money and team and future and family and time has gone away because he just keeps taking more inventory. And as he's done so, he's also forced me to just live day by day. Mm-hmm. Like, bro, when I was growing up in church, when Jesus is praying and his disciples are like, yo, teach us how to pray like that. And he goes, yeah, we'll pray like this. Hey, Dad, our Father who's in heaven, give us today our daily bread. Obviously, there's a lot more. I used to think that was more like, yeah, you need God to provide for you. Like he gave manna to the children of Israel, which, bro, how crazy would it be to walk out of your house every day and bread falls down? You get sick of that, and then he brings birds, crazy. But I used to think that was more about financial provision and, clothes and homes. And I still think that's true, but I'm starting to now reverse engineer it because I haven't had a choice. Like, I don't just need him to provide food and shelter. Like, I need him for breath, bro. Yeah. Like, I've so many moments where it feels like a stranglehold. Like, dude, I can't do this. I get done, 3 clients canceled, and an artist needs to move on. And most of the time, it's not even anybody angry. It's just agency world. It's just what happens. And then I come home, and one of my kids needs help, or I haven't taken my wife on a date in 3 weeks, and I just came up for air. I'm like, dude, what am I doing all this for? And I feel like Jesus has slowly but surely, over 5 years, done the work of refinement to the point where now I just feel so blessed every day. And there's no reason to quit because tomorrow's tomorrow. God's going to take care of tomorrow. All I can do is I can be here with Corbin. And tonight I'm going to go home and see my babies. And whatever I'm supposed to do tomorrow, I'm supposed to do tomorrow. So I'm not going to quit today. I don't know what's going to happen next week. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm not going to quit today because this is where he has me. Today, he has me calling a client. He has me shooting a podcast with you. He has me jumping on a plane and meeting with Connor. He has me meeting with Esme. He has me shooting with Kyle Veach. He had me wake up and write notes to my family. He had me get up way earlier than I wanted to after staying up late talking to my wife about life and the future. And that's all I got. And I can't quit because he won't let me, because that's not his way.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying so hard not to be the like meme online of like the Christian podcast. Every time you say something, I'm like,
it actually is so funny.
But you're cooking right now.
Bro,
I can't lie to you.
I've gotten so much better at podcasting. Thank you, Matt, my brother Jesse, who helped us start this. But I have felt so cringy listening to podcasts, or even myself at the beginning. Every time someone says something, oh yeah,
so good, so good.
Say that.
Wow, so good.
And God bless anyone who wants to do it. It's not a judgment, but it is kind of distracting.
It is. But we're like taught to do this,
Yeah. By well-meaning people. The amen culture is kind of awesome and off-putting at the same time.
So good. No, it's so good. You said so many things.
I really did. I went hard there.
That I think that you're so good at is being strong in the grace. You talked about that earlier, and just like, it's my skill set. This worked because that's my skill set. That's what God gave me, and I'm with him, and he gave me that, so I can excel at this because I know and I'm confident in that. Have you always been that way? Like, been able to be strong in the grace and aware of your grace and how to operate in that?
Definitely not. I mean, I'm sure you would say the same thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's definitely moments where I'm like, dude, I'm in this. Like, I'm in the pocket. Like, I'm on a heater. Well, let's go. And there's a lot of times where that deep insecurity shrouds your judgment. But I do feel like I have grown from grace to grace. Bro, did you know, it's in the Psalms, I think, maybe Con, you know this, but where it says, raise up a child in the way he or she should go, and when he's old, he will not depart from it. In the Hebrew, bro, I never saw this until recently. It's actually not just talking about raising someone up in the house of God or raising someone up with a biblical worldview or with proximity to God that actually results in moral living. Because I think it's first, God draws near to me. I choose to continuously invite him into my daily reality. And then as a result from that, I live a better life meaning I make better choices, right? So that's true. But the actual context there is not just that. It also means kind of help. If your son, dude, if either of us have a 6'6" son, they better be playing basketball. What are we talking about? You know,
I'm 5'9", my wife's 5'7".
Exactly. But the same thing, like if you have a son who's a brilliant artist, but oh, dude, let's go get him in art classes. You have a kid or a son or daughter who, oh my gosh, what are they? They can sing like that? Like, you go get them voice lessons. Part of what the inference there in the Hebrew is not just moral or righteous or godly life, but it's also putting someone in position to thrive based on the skills God gave them. And when Paul and Peter write about like the grace gifts, the charis, it's an imputed gift that is not earned. And I think as I have aged now, staring at 34, I definitely have started to notice, as much as I've tried for other gifts, and I've tried really hard. Like, I can play a couple chords in the guitar, but no matter what, I'm like, oh my gosh, 3 months has gone by.
Still on G.
Yeah. And the same thing, like, I'm a pretty decent designer, but when I look at the designers on our team, like, it's literally pointless for me to design. And that, like, all my desire has been bankrupt. And so I think part of it probably is age, and I hope maturity, but I just realize more and more, like, these are the skills God gave me, and I just want to leverage those to the best of my ability to bless the people around me and to receive the joy of using those on a daily basis and just enjoying it. Just enjoying it.
I was talking to Connor actually earlier,
Dude, that's the guy.
and he referenced. Oh, actually, I can't say who he referenced on a podcast, but there's a song called "God Breathed," and it was Kanye. but this idea, this concept, the chorus hook is like, "I know God breathed on this," and that's it. I asked him. He's doing so many things. He's so impressive. Been able to build such beautiful
Connor,
things.
you are impressive.
He's right there. I'm like talking about him like he's not 6 feet away from me.
Con, how many jobs do you have currently?
A little too many, but by God's grace.
And he just
By God's grace.
now our marketing manager at DPS and also social media manager for our clients. And he also just accepted another job in Florida. And literally,
You heard it here first. Breaking news.
And
That is actually crazy.
the wild part, bro, is your capacity is so vast that I think Esme has said this too, but it's like, how many jobs can this guy do? And clearly, there is no limit to the
them.
number.
There's no limit to my God.
Oh, wow. Go there. Yeah.
No, so good. No, literally, so good.
But God breathed on this.
I love that thought. And we've been, I'm going to do it. Well, I just tried to do another shirt that said, I feel kind of free on it. Another Kanye reference. And immediately I put a like little video on TikTok, and it's like, this is my new shirt, whatever. Immediately got 5 comments of like, oh, bro, it's not a good look. You shouldn't do. And I was like, oh, okay, never mind. I can't do that. So no Kanye lyrics for now. We'll give it a little bit.
Yeah.
God breathed.
He'll come around in Jesus' name, Lord.
I know, but I can. I'm a 4 on the Enneagram, and can describe that as,
What is the 4?
it's like the moody creative. Like, I can't lie to you. I love being sad. I love, just swirling in the like, man, this is so hard. These are all my like biggest emotions I'm feeling right now. Let's dive in deep together. And so that's my fault that I bring that to our friendship, especially in our business when we talk about everything that we're going through. And I feel like I may have kind of done that on this pod. But the point of this pod is actually to highlight how phenomenal of a job you've done. And can we just talk about some of the like most exciting things with DPS and
Absolutely. And thank
some
you
of your
for saying
favorite
that.
things that you've done? Because 5 years deep, you've helped so many churches. You are, I think, the best in the industry. I think your team is phenomenal. Everything that you guys make is beautiful. And I'm just so impressed. I love it all. But what's been some of your favorite moments, some of your favorite things you're doing, have done?
My favorite thing right now is we meet as a team. We have a pretty global team kind of based all over because it's 2025 and you can build business like that and it works. And I think our culture makes it so it makes sense. And mostly thanks to Esme and Capria on the operational side that allow all of us crazy artists and visionaries to make it work. Shout out to you too. But our Tuesday morning meetings are my favorite because most of the time, usually there's about 12 of us that are in the studio, jump on and we share thankfulness and shout outs and talk about studio updates. And it's an actual blast. And typically I'll share a quote and then give an inspirational message. And it is so fun to me. On Tuesday mornings when I wake up, I'm like, oh yes, I get to see everybody today. Like I'm just so gregarious and relational. It's so fun to me. There's that. I would also say, I just think every once in a while I'll go through an artist channel. Like recently, shout out Quincy Sablon. Have you met Quincy?
I've never
Dude,
met
she's
her, but
incredible. Oh
follow
my gosh,
her.
she's so good.
I'm a
Recently,
Vegas Golden Knights fan because of her.
dude, she's crazy. She's
She
a
goes
Charger
hard
fan.
for the
Dude,
Golden Knights.
She's one of the most loyal sports fans I've ever met.
So the exact opposite of me. if my guy
I
leaves,
love your fair
I'm
weather
out.
fanhood. It's my favorite. But yeah, she's incredible. And recently, I'll just scroll through hers or whoever else. I'll scroll through their channel and like her project channel, and that's one of my favorite things too. I'm like, because I don't get to see everything that goes out. We have so many projects that go up due to how great our team is, and I'm just enamored by the art. The way that I always like to kind of quantify how good it is when I'm scrolling past a design pack, or whether it's a loose design or a full build out, what we call like our larger builds that have their own look and feel. And I can't help but just sit there and stare at it. And I'll get lost for like 5 minutes, just like staring at the nuances of like these little icons, or like this color palette they put together, or like the use of photography mixed with like a little bit of a sans serif. But then there's like a bold serif down here, and there's some aesthetic text. And I'm just like, I get lost. And so I think those are two things that really stick out. And then I think lately, actually, it's been really special to me. It took us so long to start this podcast, mainly because probably my insecurity, to be honest. I think it's one thing to start a business, and it has been so hard. And and anyone who's ever started a business, you know what we're talking about, or started a church, started anything if you're pioneering. But I think then this next iteration that we're in now of doing this has been even more revealing to me, because putting yourself out there online as a talking head is a whole nother level of ownership. And I don't mean ownership equity. I mean ownership like, dude, I better really believe in what I'm saying, because this is for real on the internet and people can like, comment, and unsubscribe, So I think it's been so pleasant to me. Matt and I've talked about this a million times, talked about it with Con. Every once in a while after a radio episode, I'm like, dude, what am I doing? Why are we spending this money on this? Like, yeah, it kind of helps, whatever. But then some client or friend will reach out to me, or I just ran into Mark Venti. Mark Venti and Vance Rush, shout out Overflow, happened to be in Phoenix, so we went and got dinner late at night the other night. And he goes, bro, I'm so proud of the content you've been making. It's incredible. And then he's talking about Dylan Rizzo, another homie. He's like, yeah, dude, Dylan didn't even know I knew you. He was talking about how you guys are the best. And I think
I just connected with Dylan on Instagram.
He's so dope.
I just have to shout him out because that man is phenomenal.
Oh my God.
And he's one of those guys I've never met in person, but we have so many mutual friends, and I'm so inspired by everything he's doing.
He's got so many projects.
And he's crushing all of them.
Absolutely.
They're so good. Baggy Pants Golf, I think, is the #1 brand name to me.
It's so sick.
It's so good. Baggy Pants Golf. That's so sick.
And
Sorry
Connor,
to interrupt.
No, you're good. And Con, you were saying that they sponsored the Waste Management Phoenix Open, right?
Yeah, well, they did like a collaborative merch drop.
Yeah. They had a presence.
Dude,
The Waste Management. And he's doing stuff with Circle Author now, which is a brand that I've probably been too inspired by.
For real.
Like, I take screenshots, and some of my designs are a little too close, and they're just, he's phenomenal.
He is. And yeah, I think I'll hear from those types of friends who I haven't heard from in a while, and they'll be complimentary of what the studio is doing, or specifically lately complimenting radio. I'm like, oh man, like, okay, I guess we're on to something. And I think that mix of moments matter so much to me. And then I would say this is something I've always been grateful for, but we're a 4-day work week. So we work Monday to Thursday really hard, and then we rest Friday to Sunday. And I feel like now with my wife being pregnant with my 4th baby, I'm more grateful. Did I not tell you?
Do people know that?
Oh, not yet. Oh, I told you. You're like the
You
first
told me.
Yeah. No, well, I've
told
kind of been
everyone?
saying I can't help but say it now. Yeah.
On the worldwide, more breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Baby number 4.
Bro, we out here. But
You're 3 for 3 on baby names.
yeah,
All 3 of them.
this next one is Corbin Crosby McKinney Jr.
4 for 4. Ladies and gentlemen, he did it again. He is 4 for 4.
How funny would it be? Like you come and see the baby come out to AZ. It's like, dude, look at this is little Corbin Crosby McKinney
This is
Jr.
little Corbin.
Like so weird.
I'm down. Let's do
Hear
it.
about it.
baby,
Shea
let's do it.
Gilgeous Alexander Corbin Crosby.
That's like a TikTok
On that
trend
note,
right
though,
now. That's so funny.
This is a great segue back to what you said as your fair weather fandom. You kind of like the Lakers and the Thunder. Awesome.
I'm
right
Lakers
now.
now. Of course I'm Lakers.
But-
They just got Luka. As a fair weather fan, of
So
course I'm
you're
jumping
just off
ship.
the SGA ship.
No, I'm down. Unless they get to the finals, then I'll delete this clip. But but yeah, I'm Lakers. Team
Okay,
Lakers.
let's go.
Let's go.
Dude, did I tell you how Sunday, obviously you know this, but for the listeners, he's 5 because he loves Luka Doncic because of Dude Perfect, because he was on Dude Perfect. And so for a while he kept on saying to my oldest, Ev, and me, because Ev and I are so loyal to the Lakers, he'd be like, yeah, the Dallas Mavericks are my favorite.
Those motherfuckers.
Luka Doncic is on the Dallas Mavericks. Sorry, Dad. Sorry, Ev.
That's
They
such
made
a
it to the
good-
finals last year. Just talk like that. And
The sweetest
bro,
kid.
the sweetest kid in the world.
Little frat boy.
And then he started to kind of fray, and he'd be like, okay, Dad, Luka's my favorite player, but Lakers are my
Deep
favorite,
voice.
really.
Sunday
And
has
then-
deeper voices than both of us.
Truly. I'm like, hey, son. He's like, hey, Dad.
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Oh, man. But when I woke them up in the morning the day after it happened, because it happened kind of late at night. And he goes, Dad? He grabs me by the arm. He's like, Dad, I can't believe this is our for real life. Luka Doncic is a Laker. It was the
I didn't
greatest.
even think about that. How
It was-
exciting.
oh my! I was so part of the reason, obviously, as a Laker fan, I'm so excited, and it is crazy how good the Lakers are right now. It's so fun. I was watching the game 2 nights ago, just like grinning ear to ear.
And LeBron's
Oh my
87.
gosh. Yes, and
With a triple-double every
now
night?
he's iterated again off of his ability to do everything else. Now he's like this off-ball scorer that doesn't need to get 12 assists for the team to win, and it's wild to watch. He's like this lethal 3-point shooter and kind of like baseline elbow and rim runner. Like, what in the world
love
are we?
that, man.
And he's like the
My
best.
king.
And he looks like an MVP candidate again. Crazy. But yeah, I was almost more excited just to tell Sunday that Luka is now a Laker, as the fact that just as a Laker
Can you
fan we get to
believe this is
watch
a
it.
life?
It's the
I
freaking
have
best.
such a ingrained memory in my head of a big trade, and it was on July 4th. I can't remember which year. Probably had to be like 2016. And one of my best friends to this day, Spencer Kleinsmith, we were both interns at City Church at the time, and this was the summer of Kevin Durant's free agency. And July 4th, we had like an outing, barbecue, all of our friends together.
And at this point, you would have been a big Thunder fan.
Oh yeah, they were everything to me. And he literally woke me up that morning, and he goes, "Wake up, Corb, Kevin's gone." And it was,
Dude,
I think
Spence
to
is a
this
legend.
moment, the saddest moment. I'm like trying to wake
Oh
up,
my God.
wake up, Corb, Kevin's gone. And then I had to. Oh, it was.
Did
so
you know what he
sad.
meant from the moment?
Yes, because it was such a thing that summer of like,
Where is he going to go?
what's he gonna
Yeah.
do?
Getting recruited, yeah.
But in my head and heart, I heard the audible voice of Jesus also tell me that he was staying with the Thunder. And so, wake up, Corb, Kevin's gone, was so sad.
Seriously. It's a bummer, too, everything that's happened towards the end of his career, because it doesn't seem like it's going to work in Phoenix.
I still believe.
You think it's going to work in Phoenix, or you just mean in his career?
Yeah, it could. Devin Booker,
Dude,
Bradley
yeah.
Beal, it could. Anything could happen.
Yeah. It's gotten a little bit better the last couple of weeks.
I just believe in Kevin so, like I know him on a first name basis. I believe in him so strongly, and he's so good.
Bro, you know the story of when my brother Jesse was playing basketball at Kevin's house?
With him?
Kevin was just watching.
Yo, that's so stressful.
My brother was an absolute baller.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, I guess I'm just going to share the story. But, yeah, Jesse and another friend were playing basketball at Kevin's house. And Jesse was like a lethal three-point shooter his whole career and still like just annoyingly great at making threes anytime we play pickup. And he was good in high school, but he got even better later in life. And they're playing wherever Kevin was living at the time. And I guess as is pretty normal for like a high-end NBA player, he has a bunch of buddies he grew up playing with that aren't quite NBA guys, maybe some G League guys, overseas guys that still are like otherworldly, no pun intended, just like crazy good, you know? And Jesse and this other dude are just destroying these guys. Like they won like 6 games in a row, and Jesse literally could not miss, which is not a shocker. And I guess Kevin is just losing his mind.
No way.
Losing his mind. Next time we're with Judah will tell you the story. He tells it even better than me.
I can't wait.
But like screaming, laughing, like running laps. He's like, these white boys beat us. He's so awesome. It's like it's the crowning moment of athletic achievement in our family with certainty.
Wow. I'll share my NBA story. I was
Please.
one time playing at Northwest University this is while I was an intern, and I got invited to play with Judah and a bunch of his friends, and I was starstruck, and I was an intern at this time,
Yeah.
so like, I don't know, it's like embarrassing how much I walked in, and I walked in and then
Like
walked out
shaking?
and called my mom, you're like, you can't believe who's here, Mom.
You did not.
I'm like a 23-year-old man.
You walked out and called
It's
your
like,
mom?
Guess who I'm about to play basketball with?
Bro, that's what's up.
That was so embarrassing. But one of the guys that we were playing with was Nate Robinson. And there was one moment in particular. This is like the coolest thing that's ever happened in my life. We're a couple games in.
Were you on his team?
I was one time. And he hops up, grabs a rebound, and just turns and like full court just beam to some other guy. Beautiful layup. And he takes his shirt off and he goes, "Good pass, Nate Robinson. Good pass, Nate Robinson." And I thought it was the greatest thing that's ever happened in my life. I couldn't believe it. So now every time I play pickup basketball, anytime I throw a good pass, I go, "Good pass, Nate Robinson." I don't change the name.
Bro.
It's "Good pass, Nate Robinson." I don't
That's
take my
so
shirt off,
good.
though, because he had a six-pack, and I don't. But,
Bro, I love that.
Any
He
other-
was a freak for a second.
yeah,
That was dope.
we're the same height.
Yeah.
And he won dunk contests, and he's phenomenal. And now his children are freaks. One of them, I
Didn't
think, is
he
at
almost
Colorado
die?
University.
Didn't he need to get a
He
kidney
literally
transplant?
just got
Or something? Or
liver,
what was it?
I think. I think he just got a
Wasn't
liver
he
transplant like 2
he was
weeks ago.
potentially going to die, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
2 weeks ago.
Bro, I still remember him at UW, the way he would shoot his free throws and wrap it around his back before he shot the free throws. Do you remember that? In
No.
college, it was sick.
I didn't
I've
know
never
him
seen
then.
anybody do that free throw routine.
Yeah, it's so cool. All right.
All right.
Where do we go from here? I'm just kidding.
Oh, you're
So I meant to ask you this. Your hat says your company on it in a beautiful, beautiful art. This is my favorite hat that you guys have made, that we
Shout
have
out
made.
to Rodrigo for designing it.
I embroidered this hat,
You
so
did.
shout
out to Corbin Crosby.
Bleecker and Green. Business has closed, but shout out to us.
No longer
back
accepting
then.
offers.
But Divine Persuasion, the story of why you chose this name is so fun to me. Fun, I didn't mean to say fun.
It is fun.
It's such a beautiful story, and just tell me more about Divine Persuasion. Why did you choose this name?
Well, I'll tell you, Corbin Crosby.
It's so fun. The story's
Tell
so
you,
fun.
Corbin Crosby McKinney Jr.
Now I'm the son. I'm the fourth child.
I wanted to let you guys know. Oh, God, that was going to get weird. Thank you for stopping me, Jesus. When I was at PushPay, I started on January 23rd of 2018 when we became besties. But there was a couple weeks before that, my buddy Dan Fernan. Have you met Dan?
I haven't.
Dude, he's incredible.
I watched this
Love you,
podcast
Dan.
episode.
Dude, he's awesome. We've been friends forever. He was supposed to
Phenomenal
go.
mustache.
Oh, bro, incredible. And his barbecue, ooh, top notch. Also, brilliant communicator and so funny, dude. He needs to do stand-up comedy. Did you hear any of the routine bits he did with us on the podcast?
Yeah.
Dude, it's
Phenomenal.
He's so funny. The flag one.
Yeah.
I like literally
can't
he would
recall it
come
right
over.
now.
I'm not even going to try to butcher it, but the basic idea is he's like, for as divided as the world is, how did we get everyone to agree to make a flag? All based off the same dimensions. It's like, and then he goes off there. It's so funny. He's like, and he does this cool like kind of pseudo Russian voice that sounds like Gru from Despicable Me, and he'll be like, "Put a dot on it." It's so funny. Anyway, he was supposed to go speak at this youth camp in Oregon, and his schedule changed, so he couldn't go, and he felt bad for that church, and so he's just like, "Hey, I have this friend Wendell. He would be willing to drive from Seattle and go. You don't even have to pay for his travel." And the guy's like, "Was he any good?" And he's like, yeah, he'll be great, whatever. And so I had just transitioned out of ministry. And for what I knew, especially now because my sabbatical was over, I didn't go apply for a job at Church Home. There wasn't any job to apply for besides janitorial. And I needed to make more money for my family. And I wasn't going to go work at some other church. It didn't really seem what God wanted. So I applied. I got accepted at PushPay. And there was this span of about a week and a half before I was going to work there. And that's exactly when that conference was. I'm like, yeah, I could go if they want me to go. And so at the time, I didn't know if I was ever going to preach again. I just didn't know. And I definitely didn't want to preach some message I had written before. For me, I don't preach all the time, obviously, anymore, but I just really believe in preaching the gospel in a church setting off of, for me personally, something that I feel like God is telling me. That's just the way I am. Like, I want to go search the scriptures and feel like God's talking to me and then just go share that with people. And so, yeah, I started studying the scripture late at night in one of the Kirkland cottages. And I came across, I think, the book of Mark where it says, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, be cast in the sea, and it will be done. And I've always thought of that as such a crazy conundrum. Like, you can cast mountains. Like, is that literal? Is that spiritual? And so I did what I was taught to do by my dad, and went to the scriptures and got a couple different translations. And then I went to biblical commentary. And usually I probably should have gone to like the Greek and Aramaic, Hebrew of the potential text first, but I didn't do that until the end. So I had read all this commentary about it, and I had read all these different translations about it. It's probably like 11 p.m. on a random Monday, and I have no job or anything besides like my wife and my son, who both are probably going to sleep in the next day. So I'm cooking. Like, I'll stay up till 2. This is so fun. Probably listening to Hillsong United. And I kid you not, bro. So I go into the Greek and I look up the Greek word for faith. I'm like, well, for whatever reason, I've never done this. And the Greek word for faith in the New Testament is pistis. Like, cool. And the most literal translation, and this is pretty much the only word for faith in all of the New Testament. So every time Jesus said faith, "O ye of little faith," or "Where is your faith?" or "Woman, I say to you, you're healed because of your faith," or when Jesus saw their faith when they let their leper friend down, all those moments, and every time Paul mentions it, and even in Peter's writing, it's pistis, and it means God's in-birth divine persuasion, where God gifts a human the ability to understand his preferred will, and it cannot be mustered in and of a human by themselves. It can only be received as a free will gift. And I remember, I didn't hear God's voice, but similar to when I was 18, bro, I started crying and my whole body started tingling. I honestly felt like, do you remember in Stranger Things when they do the upside down where it's like,
No, I didn't watch it.
I didn't really finish it, but like
It's
there's
witchcraft.
this, it is kind of crazy, but they have a really cool scene in cinematography where you're looking at what's happening in that reality, and it just like kind of slowly slips to music. It almost felt like that happened to me, but it wasn't going to some weird, whatever they want to call the upside down. But like my whole house was spinning, and I was getting tingly and teary eyed. And all of a sudden I realized my whole life, I thought faith was gritting your teeth, like holding on, like, gotta have faith you're gonna heal my uncle. Gotta have faith that you're gonna fix this. Gotta have faith that you're gonna help me be a better husband. Gotta have faith that you're gonna make me. And no matter what, my faith is like, I'm just gonna believe God even when it sucks. And like I would read this, grace had been so popularized and necessarily so in our kind of evangelical stream, and grace means God's unmerited favor, meaning you can't earn it, you can't deserve it, it's imputed, it's just given. You can't get it. So I thought like the scripture by grace through faith you have been saved was like by the unmerited beautiful favor of God, and you gritting your teeth and believing no matter what you're saved. But the actual proper transliteration or understanding of what the scripture was originally intended to say is by God's unmerited favor through God's gift of in-birth divine persuasion, where he gives you the ability to understand and believe his will that you can't come up with yourself, you're saved. And so when Jesus says, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, he's saying, if you allow me to persuade you deeply enough, you will understand my preferred will and be able to believe it 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt. And I was like, blown away. And so I started to study it more, and I looked up a bunch of different scriptures, and then I went to that youth camp and just did a couple messages about God's divine persuasion. And then Colby Jones, shout out Colbs, was starting a young adult thing at the Kirkland campus, church home. And for whatever reason, I had just preached and I had started at Pushpay, and he's like, bro, you want to come and talk to, these 40 young adults we got? And I preached it again, and it was so vibrant. Like, have you done much like upfront communication in a church environment before?
Mm-mm.
Have you ever? I know you've done worship, but it's probably similar. So like, when you feel you're up there and you're not necessarily going through the motions, but you're just doing what you were asked to do. Mm-hmm. And then there's those moments where you're like, dude, I don't even know if it's me. I don't know where my skill or my ability starts and where God is in, but like I'm in some sort of zone that's not me. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. When I was talking about it in those settings, it literally felt like Jesus was speaking on my behalf. Like I felt him. And it wasn't just me encouraging people and being a cool communicator. I was like, dude, this is changing my life as I'm talking about it. And then I went to Judah, and I went to my dad, and I went to, who's like an uncle to me, Pastor Jude Fuquay. I called Chad, and all these people. I'm like, you guys never told me this is what faith was. Like, what y'all doing? Like, all these mentors, all these friends, I'm calling everybody I knew, every pastor, calling Dan Leanne, who Matt and I are going to go record with. I'm like, did you know this is what faith was? And I remember when I was sitting with Judah, he's like, bro, I didn't know this. And he's like, can I preach it? I'm like, bro, for sure. You're the best preacher in the world. What are you asking me for? He's like, well, you came up with it. Maybe you'll preach it. I'm like, no, please. So he started preaching it. And then, of course, when he preached it, I was like, oh, dang, it's hitting even different now. But by the time, fast forward from all that moment, like my whole life, my perspective of following Jesus was completely changed, because I realized, bro, I bring nothing to the table besides a willing heart and an open hand. That's all I got. Bro, that's all I got as a dad. That's all I got as a businessman. That's all I got as a parent. That's all I got as a youth soccer coach. Like, I have a few skills, but to be honest, if I'm really honest, I'm insecure and I'm lonely and I need him every day. And I used to think that I could get through if I could grit my teeth and work hard enough. And I think God loves hard work. But what I've realized is he keeps persuading me. His divine persuasion has changed me, because the onus is not on me believing him. The onus is on him persuading me and my willingness to let him. And when I went to start the studio, I don't even remember exactly how I landed on it, but I couldn't think of anything. And then all of a sudden I was like, dude, divine persuasion. And actually, when we first started, I called it Divine Persuasion Creative Studio. And I was like trying to come up with emails and like
a lot of syllables.
URL. I'm like, this is way too much. And so we moved it to Divine Persuasion Studio. And yeah, it's been an adventure.
How much time do we have?
We're at about an hour and 28.
Okay, I have one more question, and we can use this as like also an ending. But why do you think churches need beautiful art? Why do you think what Divine Persuasion does is important?
I think that the gospel is the most beautiful story ever told. And there's a lot of reasons why historically, I would say in our lifetime over the last 25 or so years, it's been difficult for most churches, not every, because there's obviously outliers who do incredible work, but most churches to consistently have really beautiful art, really beautiful marketing, social media, and web, because that's where people find your church now. And even for a lot of the churches that have been successful, or people, when I first started, I would hit them up and be like, oh no, we're good. Everybody ends up coming around because one of two things usually happens. One, and I wouldn't wish this on anybody, but it's very common in the church space, creatives get super burnt out because the demand is just really high. And I think most pastors mean really well. Most executives mean really well. But oftentimes, the understanding of what it takes to curate art and to push marketing at a really high level is incongruent with the expectations of an executive leader in the community. And so whether they're getting content late, or they can't put together the strategy, or they don't have time, or the expectation for quality and quantity is not at the same level, so often creatives, social media managers, marketers, communications directors, designers, videographers get so burnt out, even at the volunteer level, because the demands of church feel, and they are so important, and they have an event every 4 or 5 days. And so there's a lot of burnout. And our perspective is, if you have one person on staff, or 50 people on staff, or 150 people on staff, chances are you will get to moments where you simply cannot keep up with the content demands of 2025 and beyond. You can't have a social media manager forever. They might leave. You can't have every designer, or maybe senior talent, or junior talent, or project manager. And so our goal is to uniquely come alongside the church and fill those gaps as necessary. So one big thing is, I think a lot of churches need us, or something like us. Or maybe you find a really gifted freelancer, but I think the agency model makes a lot of sense because it brings a professionalism that I think not every freelancer can produce, and also kind of puts in some safeguards so that freelancer also doesn't get burnt out. So the burnout thing is huge. But the other thing is just what I said, bro. This is the greatest story of all time. Here we are in 2025, Instagram followers out the wazoo for every influencer and their mom, literally. And so often we are playing second fiddle. The church used to be the bastion of creativity. And again, there are so many wonders. So this is not to throw shade on any great creatives like Ron or Omar. We just had our webinar with, or the team at Life Church Memphis. We served them for a long time, and then they kind of went all in-house. I think the stuff that they're doing, or even like Oasis LA, we work with them too. Love Sam Cantillon, love Julian Lowe and their team, but they're not as heavy on design. They're doing a lot more like user-generated content. There's so many different ways to do it, but what I have found, and what we have found, and I think what most churches find, is it's really difficult to hire the right team and keep the right team forever. And partnering with us allows them to get agency-level talent with people who actually care about the gospel, because we have to curate this story where people find it. And predominantly today, where people find out about Ecclesia is on your website and on your Instagram and your YouTube. That would be the vast majority. And I think those numbers are only going to skyrocket. What we'll probably see with Gen Z and Gen Alpha, you could throw on TikTok too. People will find church community more online first through these mediums, and building trust through really great content that's worthy of the greatest story ever told. And then they will become someone who might come to that church and then potentially give to that church and be a part of a life-giving community. And I think anyone who would feel different about that iteration is probably in denial. Not saying they have to partner with us, but meaning we need to leverage these tools to get the gospel out. Just like we've been leveraging microphones and stages and LED walls and buildings, and Jesus used water to amplify his voice when out in a boat. So I think we got to use whatever means we can, and our goal is to help do that. So it's a passion I can't shake. And I would say, you asked me earlier why I can't quit. I just really think this is important, and it feels like every other day a new agency is popping up, a new studio, or more people doing great things, and I applaud it. I think that the onus is on those who have the ability to help to do something. And I think a younger version of me would probably point fingers at the church and say that our art sucks and we just copy other people. And this older version of me feels like, well, I do have the capacity as a leader to potentially help a group of artists serve more churches than we could if we all just did it as individual contributors. And so, yeah, man, I really believe in what we do. I think we're the best in the world. I think our culture is a culture of care, and we only hire A players. Like, everybody we got can absolutely crush what they do, whether it's social or web or project management or marketing or design. I think we're the best in the world, and
I think so too.
We really care.
Also think that Jamal, that lob, Jamal Crawford to Blake Griffin, between the legs lob.
Yes.
Blake Griffin goes up and windmills. I feel like that question was that lob, and once you got into the ecclesia bag, when you use that word, that was Blake grabbing the ball.
Oh, man.
Sheesh, what a word. Whenever you get going on that and get passionate and use that ecclesia, ooh, let this man cook. I think that's so good, and I think you guys are the best in the world, and I'm so proud to be your friend, and I'm so proud to have a front row seat of watching you build this. And I think you're doing a phenomenal job. I think your team is doing a phenomenal job. And I'm happy for me that I am now the most frequent guest on this podcast.
Me too. Matt and I were actually talking about it. We feel like you should maybe just start your own channel on radio.
Let's do it.
You want to?
Yeah. But I'm only going to like hot topics only.
No, you can. It's your
Politics.
channel. It's like Divine
right,
Persuasion Politicians. Oh my goodness, bro! Thank you so much. This was your idea to interview me, and I think it's really humbling, and it makes me realize how much I stand on the shoulders of my parents and how amazing my wife is, dude. He who finds a wife finds a good thing, and excuse my language, but damn, I found a good woman, dog. Wow, like.
Amy is the greatest.
Dude, she
like,
is
truly.
the most amazing, and she's my greatest friend, my greatest confidant, and so freaking discerning. Like, she always knows what's supposed to happen when it's supposed to happen, and her love for Jesus and her love for me is everything, bro. Like, to be happily married now for almost 12 years, it just means the world. So, baby, I love you. And Everett, Sunday, Margot, and this future baby is like,
Baby
I feel
Corbin.
blessed. I feel blessed. Baby Corbin Crosby McKinney Jr.
The fact that you're my best friend and my wife is best friends with Amy and we both love Amy. You know those like couple relationships where it's just like, we got our guy, but you know, when they come around, when the spouse comes around, it's like, yeah, we'll make it work. But genuinely, we come to Arizona and we hang and we have such a good time, and I love Amy, and I consider her one of my close friends also.
Same.
And
with
that's
Chris,
such
dude.
a gift. I'm so glad I like
We're
your wife.
We're so blessed. Same, dude.
Do you like my wife?
Dude, I love Chris. Dude, she's the best. And also, we were joking about this. I don't know if it was recorded, but like how much of a failure we would both be without our wives.
Brother,
how many?
I'd be in jail. Like, legitimately, I'd be in jail. My business would have no legal standing.
No, that's my favorite quote right now too, because every time, well, not every time, but there's that one jail in Arizona we pass sometimes on the freeway. Like, and every time you look at it, you're like, dude, it would suck so bad to be in jail.
It's my deepest fear.
You get so deep.
Going to jail. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, bro.
wanna talk about
I
it.
love you, man. We'll do this again soon. And
Talked for mad long.
oh, we did. I think this could be our longest ep ever.
And as a black-owned creative studio, we gave them so long to book a demo. If they haven't yet, I already said what I think about them. So you have 30 more seconds to book that demo.
Oh my God. You're the
I love you
greatest.
so much.
Bro, I love you too. And I also want to say, because I'm assuming there's probably people who are potentially listening to this who haven't before, bro. Your faith and your ability to weather the absolute, I can only think of cuss words, and I'm trying not to be that guy on a podcast, but the absolute storm of running.
What's the cuss word for storm?
Shitstorm.
Okay.
But how difficult it is to start and maintain a business. Like, it's cool. We actually just kind of organically started the same year. Like, it's always inspired me. You're an incredible creative, and I'm just grateful to call you a friend. And I think my favorite thing about our relationship in general is how much we just get to talk about the struggle, and then how we always point each other. And it seems like one of us is always doing more of the pulling up and pointing, but you always point me back to Jesus, and you always point me back to the blessings that I have in my wife and kids and my parents and a home. So thank you. Appreciate you, dog.
I love you.
Go buy Jonah. RN.
RN, baby.